Alright, I'm about to do my best dolphin impression. Let's go. Fucking let's go! Woo! This is an advisory notice. The contents of this video contains description of drugs, the abuse of animals, and the research for said video was done by an idiot. It's pretty cool though, so you should probably watch it and maybe like and subscribe or something. I don't know, just throwing it out there. Dolphins. Wow, they're so majestic. I mean, just look at that one go. Wow. All right, everybody, get out your history books and flip to the page about aliens, because we're about to learn how NASA paid money to have some dude jerk off a dolphin. Now, I could go into this whole big spiel over how dolphins evolved, however they evolved, but pretty much, to sum it all up, dolphins went from being really, really strong and buff to being really smart and cool and having good social networking skills and all that good stuff. Enter John C. Lilly, stage left. Big, smart guy who loved dolphins. Just a little backstory for this guy. Dr. Lilly was a physician, a neuroscientist, a psychoanalyst, a psychonaut, a philosopher, a writer, and an inventor. A lot of jobs. I wish I could get a job. This is the same dude who invented the sensory deprivation chamber, that big box that you sit in salt water and there's just nothing and you get to sit there and it's only you and you have to sit with your thoughts. That and his experiments putting metal in human brains eventually led to studies about other big-brained creatures other than humans, i.e. dolphins. Now's where the rabbit hole begins. Because John C. Lilly was a genius. He was so smart. I mean, as I said before, this guy invented sensory deprivation tanks. He invented instruments to measure gas pressure in fighter pilots. And his research on electrical stimulation in the nervous system led to knowledge of biphasic charge-balanced electrical stimulation pulses that are also known as Lilly's pulses. I don't know what that means, but it's gotta be smart because it's a bunch of big words. But here's the catch. He was alive in the 60s. And I think we all know what people did in the 60s, man. You know, man, he's into that kaleidoscope, that mother of God, double dome shit, man. He did a bunch of acid, a bunch of LSD. On top of this, and while the two might not be related, but if I had to guess, they definitely were, the man became obsessed with aliens. And when I say obsessed, I mean really obsessed. Like, make a special club obsessed. So Lilly and his science buddies got together and created this group that they called the Order of the Dolphin, you know, just to prove that they're not a cult or anything, and in fact we're just a bunch of guys hanging out and talking about math equations. I don't know, man. NASA gave this dude money, and this is the front page of his website. And to be completely honest, I don't think I can do it justice making fun of it. I'm just gonna read it to you. The page is titled Echo, and the O's go off in like a echo. It reads, in one's life, there can be peculiarly appropriate chains of related events that lead to consequences that are strongly desired. After such experiences, one wonders how such a series of events developed. Sometimes there is a strong feeling that some intelligence, greater than ours, directed the course along certain lines which it/he/she was/is programming. Several years ago, I enunciated a format for such concatenations? What the fuck does concatenations mean? Oh, okay. This is what he figured out. There exists a cosmic control center, the CCC, with a galactic substation called Galactic Coincidence Control, the GCC, within which is the Solar System Control Unit, the SSCU, within which is the Earth Coincidence Control Office, the ECCO, or the ECHO stated before. The assignments of responsibilities from the top to the bottom of this system of control is by a set of regulations, which translated by ECHO for humans is somewhat as follows. Dr. Lilly goes on to tell us his 9 rules to controlling coincidences, and is definitely not religion. I guess the point in me sharing all that is just to say that this dude was fucking crazy. So back to it. Our LSD using mad scientist somehow in a meeting with NASA drew a connection between communicating with aliens and communicating with dolphins. And yes, you heard me right when I said NASA, the US federal government, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, gave him a bunch of money, undisclosed, but more than enough for his experiment. So, Jonald gets his grubby little hands on 3 dolphins, Peter, Pamela, and Sissy. But he still needs this state-of-the-art facility to bring scientists and dolphins closer together, so he goes and builds the Dolphinarium, aka the dolphiniest place on Earth. And with his crack team of scientific researchers, he was ready to get NASA exactly what they paid for. Kind of. You see, NASA left the meeting with the impression that John C. Lilly would try to communicate with the dolphins. John C. Lilly left the conversation with the money in his pocket, thinking, I'm going to teach a dolphin to talk to me. Now, I don't know if you can see where they might have gotten their wires crossed a little bit. Enter Margaret Lovett, stage right. Now, Margaret at Christmas dinner one year was told by her brother-in-law about a secret lab that got set up. Little did she know, this was the Dolphinarium. She said that a story of a cat that talked inspired her to try to communicate with animals, and curiosity drove her to head over to the secret lab, and she walked in and asked if she could help, which you might think that's weird, but it's the 60s. Apparently that's how you got a job. Lovett was hired on the spot, pretty much. And in her head, she reasoned that if she lived with the dolphins and made human-like sounds similar to how a mother teaches her child to speak, it should work. It'll have more success than the scientists who are trying to feed it and teach it all these different ways of speaking we're doing. So, they built a human house inside of this big building. Literally a human house. They filled it about waist deep with water, and Margaret lived in that house with Peter because, you know, that makes sense. Now, Petey was an adolescent, and I don't know what experience everyone has in being around adolescents, but I know when I was an adolescent, I'd have sexual urges. And due to spacing reasons, they had to keep the female dolphins on another floor. So if they wanted to let Petey expel those sexual urges, they had to carry him to another floor and back, which was getting more difficult the more he grew. So I don't want to point fingers, but Margaret started jerking off the dolphin. Now, if you remember, John C. Lilly was running the whole operation. He was the lead scientist, and at this point, he was quite deep in his acid days, so he began injecting the dolphin with acid in hopes that it would help them communicate. Margaret wasn't too happy with this, but it kind of worked. Like, the dolphin was much more energetic and seemed to be more active in learning when it had the drugs in its system, which is odd, but for science, I guess. Eventually, though, the media did what the media does best and made another boner soft. They caught wind that Margaret was having sex with this dolphin, and they wrote an article about it. NASA read the article that was written by Hustler, by the way, of all magazines. And they sent Carl Sagan to check it out. And Carl Sagan very quickly shut the whole thing down. NASA explained to John C. Lilly that he was, in fact, incredibly misinformed on what they wanted. And they pulled funding. Everything got torn down and the experiments were canceled. Which, you know, because they were injecting animals with drugs, it's probably a good thing. But that's not quite the end of it. If you can believe it, a lot of the research around the empathy, communication, and overall brain of marine mammals with these experiments paved the way for the Marine Mammal Protection Act, which saved countless dolphins and whales, probably from extinction. So, I guess there's a silver lining to every time you jerk off an animal. That's not true. Please don't listen to me. I don't really know what my point was. It's just a dumb story with a couple crazy people. And, I thought it would be fun to do. So, that's it. I guess. Thanks for listening to my dumb story.